you. And the people of my nursing home, thank you as well. It's great to be here, sincerely, and that's always a line. Hey, it's great to be here. How about somebody come out and say, it sucks being here. No, but it is great being here. And I'm so excited about tomorrow's event for a number of reasons. We've got some great matches. We've got some great personnel that work very, very hard to put on this stadium show. It's not easy, as you know. Put on a stadium show, it's incredible. You can go backstage and see the people that work, put on the show, you'd be amazed. Only thing I do is go every Wednesday and say, you're right, Excalibur, and you're right, Taz. That's all I do. And I can tell you this, sincerely, and I joke a lot, but sincerely, one of my biggest thrills in my career is being able to work with Bryan Danielson. No doubt.
That's my goal.
I even said on the podcast, he's the greatest wrestler of all time. Okay? And believe me, as you know, I've worked with all of them. Just about. But being able to work with Bryan Danielson, being able to call his last match was amazing. To be able to sit there and do that, knowing what type of person he is, what he's done for the wrestling business, and what he has brought to AEW. When he first came to AEW, we were in Chicago. He came to me and shook my hand. He said, "I can't wait to hear you call one of my matches." I'm like, holy shit. I can't wait to see you get in the ring, brother. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Bryan Danielson!
Thank you guys very much. It was a very warm welcome, so thank you.
Bryan, when we were in Seattle, Bryan said, "You want to go hiking with me?" And I said, "No, I want to live." Because I've heard about your hikes.
Yeah, it's only 8 to 12 miles a day.
Yeah, okay, that's not much. Along a path that's like that line, right? Well, Bryan, a lot of questions here for you, but first of all, it's great to have you here, man. It's always much better for AEW when you're around.
Honestly, it's a pleasure for me to be here. I love events like this. I just did some photos with fans downstairs, and it's so nice to meet all you guys because some of you guys have been supporting me since I started in San Antonio, Texas.
Those about a great dozen.
Yeah.
So you're one of the founding fathers of Ring of Honor. Very first match, you, Christopher Daniels, Loki. What does it mean to be that? To be the man, one of the men that started that promotion?
Well, I mean, you don't really think about it in those terms when you're actually doing something because you don't know. When Ring of Honor started, we didn't know if it was going to become anything. You know, there were all of these at the time. You're talking about 2002. Some of you in this room weren't even born yet, which makes me feel really old, and I'm sure makes you feel really old. But there were all these you heard all these rumors of all these well-funded independents that were going to come up, and that they were going to get TV, and they were going to do this thing. And Ring of Honor honestly never said that. They never told us, okay, we're going to get TV, we're going to do this. They had this idea of it's a promotion to sell tapes with. That's how they're going to make money and all that kind of stuff. Oh gosh, some of the people in this room weren't even born when video cassettes.
Isn't that something?
That is something.
Yeah, they're the Blu-ray era.
Yeah, so at the time, you know, we're all just trying to make names for ourselves and whatever. And that first show, Eddie Guerrero was on the show, and Eddie Guerrero versus Super Crazy, which is just in 2002, that was like a dream match, right? This awesome dream match. And then they put me, Christopher Daniels, and Loki in the main event over that match. And you can imagine 20-year-old Bryan Danielson being very scared and having to follow that. So yeah, but I mean, I think what happened with Ring of Honor is that we became very proud of what we were, all of the wrestlers. And so we worked hard together as a locker room to be something different, to be something new, and to be something unique.
Am I right to say the independent wrestler did not have 60-minute time limit draws or Broadways back then?
Oh, I did.
I know you did. You did. You did before Ring. Well, you brought that into Ring of Honor, didn't you?
I don't know. No, I think Samoa Joe and CM Punk were the first ones to do the hour draw in Ring of Honor. But I had done some not so good 60-minute draws before. I don't encourage any of you to go back and watch them. That will be a mind-numbing 60 minutes. I was actually very, very proud. The best 60-minute draws I ever did were in AEW. The first one with Hangman. It was right here in Dallas. And then it's not really, it wasn't really a 60-minute draw, but the Iron Man match with I had a 70+ minute match with Austin Aries. Yeah. That was my own mental experiment that did not go so well. so yeah.
60-minute matches are tough. I mean, there's no way, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, you can probably do it, but to keep the excitement up for 60 minutes, you gotta pace yourself.
Well, so that's the biggest struggle in the modern era, is because attention spans are so short, as we all know, and like, I can see it in myself, right? Like, let alone other people, but you can see the shorter attention span. It's hard to keep people's attention for 60 minutes, you know? And then if you're watching it on TV especially, you have so many other things that you could be doing, like looking at your phone, whatever, commercials come up, you know, so yeah, it's tough, but for me, it was really, really fun. Like, I like challenges, I like things that are hard, you know, if everything were easy, it wouldn't be any fun whatsoever.
Exactly. You left in 05, and then came back as the champion, came back and became the champion. So why did you leave in 05? What period?
So I left a couple times to go do shows in England for Butlins, for these holiday camps. You're wrestling in front of a bunch of people who aren't wrestling fans. And Americans we don't have an equivalent to this. But what Butlins is it's an all-inclusive vacation for a family. So say you pay $1,000 for a week, and you go there, and you get a room, and your food is included, and all the entertainment is included. So that includes, like, okay, on Tuesday there's a magician, on Wednesday there's a singer, on Saturday at 3 p.m. there's the wrestlers. And, you know, a handful of them are wrestling fans, maybe, but most of them are not. And but it was a great learning experience for me, because I went in 2003 for 6 months, went in 2005 for 4 months, and then again in 2008 for another 3 months. And one of the things I really struggled. So some parts, I think everybody can relate to this. Some things come easy to you, and some things come hard to you. The wrestling part of wrestling was always, it came to me very quickly. The character part of wrestling and being entertaining within wrestling was very hard for me. I was somebody who, if I was called upon to do a book report in my high school English class, there was one time I couldn't even finish the second paragraph, and my teacher let me sit down because I get so nervous speaking in front of people. But William Regal was actually the one who sent me over to the Butlins holiday camps and said, hey, your actual wrestling is great. You need to work on this other stuff. And so that's what I did. I went over there and I worked on that, and that's what I was doing in 2005. Right? And it was just a load of fun. I mean, we were just talking, me and Cash Wheeler, about going over there. So, I don't know if anybody knows this, I did some karaoke last night. The reason I started doing karaoke was because I got some great advice from an older wrestler named PN News. Do you remember PN News?
Oh, I sure do.
So anybody who doesn't have any reference, I think he was the first rapping wrestler.
Yes.
And he came out and said, yo baby, yo. And that was pretty much the extent of his rapping. But by 2000, he had kind of been blackballed by the American wrestling scene.
Right.
And but by 2003, he was really good. And he saw me and he was like, you're really good. But if you want to get better as a professional wrestler, you should go out and do karaoke. And I was like, what are you talking about? What's the equivalent here? It's like, it's getting up in front of a bunch of strangers and you have to put yourself out there. Now, he had an easier task because he drank. I had to go up there stone sober. Not that I just don't drink. But I had to go up there stone sober and just sing horribly in front of. And last night, I don't know how many people were there, but it was a couple hundred people. It felt like, right? It's easier to do it in front of a couple hundred people rather than in front of 10 people at a bar where they just look at each other while you're up there and you can see them. Oh, this guy's not very good, is he? Right. No, he sure isn't. The other thing, okay, I have a bunch of rules in karaoke. I was telling the younger people, there's some rules to karaoke. Okay. If you are a good singer, you can sing whatever you want. Go sing Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, and you'll just kill it and it'll be great. But for those of us who are not good singers, you need to establish some rules. So for example, some people think YMCA is a great karaoke song, right? And it is for the first 2 minutes. But the song is 7 minutes long, and by minute number 5, you're up there on stage doing YMCA, and nobody gives a flying, there's a kid there. Nobody cares. So yeah, but yeah. That's what I was doing in 2005. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer.
I was at the other hotel and I saw you walking out, and Bryce Remsburg said to me, he said, you going to come to karaoke? I said, not a chance in hell. And he said, Bryan Danielson's going. I went, what? Bryan Danielson's going to karaoke? Tremendous.
Yeah. So
what's your go-to song?
Okay, so I don't have a go-to song.
Okay.
I feel like go-to songs are a crutch, right? So last night I did Genie in a Bottle. So the song that I've probably done the most is Backstreet Boys' I Want It That Way. And Bryce Remsburg asked me, he said, are you going to do Backstreet Boys? And I said, no, absolutely not. I don't need that crutch. And then the only way that Will Ospreay would get up on stage and do karaoke was if I went up there with him and we sung Backstreet Boys' I Want It That Way. The one song I said I wasn't going to do.
What a story. That is a great story. All right, now back to wrestling. You were
Are you sure you don't want to talk about how Kane is a communist?
Okay, that's the end of our show. Many great battles as the champion of Ring of Honor. What's your favorite one? How about the one against Chris Schiavone, ROH, CZW?
So, I don't know. People ask me about favorite matches all the time. And I don't have one. I don't have favorite matches. I have favorite moments, favorite experiences, but they're never like, this one's the best above all these other things. What it is, it's really weird. It's almost like my wrestling career was this dream that I don't understand how it happened, right? And that was my Ring of Honor title run. It was like, there were so many matches that I really enjoyed. I had a really fun one, and I think Nana and I still have a connection to this day about this. I had a really fun one against a wrestler who's passed away named Jimmy Ray, who he he was so great at getting booed, right? Like he was just so great at getting booed, and then Donna out there, and like, so there were those. There was a match with Kenta where I wrestled it with a 2nd degree separation on my shoulder, and and Kenta just kept kicking my arm. And I may have told him to do that, but it sure was a bad idea. So, but there's something rewarding about going and doing something like that that's hard, that you don't know if you can do, and you go out there and you do it. And then when you come back, you feel validated. There was a match that, there was a triple threat match with me, Samoa Joe, and Kenta, where Joe knocked Kenta out. And then, because Kenta was knocked out, he knocked me out. And then I was trying to drive home, and Gabe Sapolsky, who ran Ring of Honor, was trying to stop me, so I tried to fight him. And then everything went downhill.
Sounds like a great night to me.
That's just a normal Tuesday for Tony Schiavone.
That's exactly right. We won't talk about what you said the other night. Remember in the locker room, I was the king or something. Remember that?
Oh, what did I say?
Yeah.
I say so many things.
Well, you got around everybody in the office.
What was it?
You want me to say that? Did you say that I was the king of the fuck fest?
Tony, there's a child here.
Reinforce every day.
I think we were in Mexico. Remember you said, "You're the king of the fuck fest." I said, "I guess I am." I'll walk out of the office, come back in, someone say, "Hey, you're the king of the fuck fest." Hey, Bryan Danielson, you got
I don't know if this is an innate ability or if it's an ability that I've cultivated because of wrestling. But I'm very good at getting strange things to catch on. Like, I've got till 5 in Ring of Honor, or I'm Mr. Small Package, or the Yes Chant is probably the most exceptional one. But it does even go backstage to getting people to regularly call Tony Schiavone king of the fuck fest. And I don't, you know, to be honest, I don't know if that's a skill. It could be a skill.
I love it.
Which part? The skill or being called?
No, I love being called. I love being endeared to Bryan Danielson in some way, honestly, right? Absolutely. I'm sincere about that. Many great matches that you had. Nigel McGuinness, he was out here earlier with us, and he had something about the clam digger shirt on. Okay? I'll tell the story I told Ben. I was away from wrestling, and then I got to watch 4 matches between you and Nigel, which was 4 of the best matches I'd ever seen. And you guys were doing crazy things, jumping into the stands from the ring.
To be fair, Nigel did never do that.
Yes. I can't believe how big and rugged looking he was.
Yeah, he was a strong boy.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was a strong boy.
Those were great matches. That was a great match.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Nigel McGuinness wrestle, he was very good, and in many ways better than I was. And we both got signed in 2009 to WWE, and we did our medical evaluation with WWE. They asked me if I had had any concussions. I said no, and I went on to have the career that I had. They asked Nigel if he had any injuries, and he had just recently several months earlier, he had torn his bicep, and he told them about it. He was honest, right? And then, but his doctor had told him that you can let it heal naturally, and he did. He was doing wrestle and Ring of Honor and all that kind of stuff, and he was doing great. And they looked at it and they said, "Oh no, we won't sign you unless you get surgery." And so by him being honest, he never got his chance to wrestle in WWE. And I always thought he was a better fit for WWE than I ever was. Really? Yeah.
Wow.
So Nigel was an extraordinary wrestler, and one of my favorite guys ever.
And so much fun to work with too, at the broadcast table.
And he always criticizes me for being a clam digger. There's nothing wrong with digging clams unless you're talking about the souls of the clams. If he was criticizing me like, hey, you're stealing the souls of all these clams that you're digging, but yeah, whenever he's called me a clam digger, I think he thinks it's a funny thing. But I just growing up in Washington State, it's just a normal thing to go clam digging. So anybody thinks it's an insult, they can go.
Did anyone here thought we'd be talking about the souls of clams?
He might have heard an interview or two that I've done before.
So, let's talk about your match with Nigel in AEW, because that's something that we really did. I think you guys did a pretty nice job. It was good.
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool for me to see Nigel come back at All In last year and have him go out there and to get the reaction that he did. And yeah, it was just such a blessing, and especially to do it in New York City, which is where we've had some of our best matches against each other. Yeah, it was just a cool experience. And I think, especially given that my career was coming to an end, right? It was great to have that for me one last time.
Sure. And we need to talk about your WWE career, because obviously that's put the yes chant on the map.
Oh yeah, I did. It's odd. I just got a text message yesterday. Almost, I wouldn't say threatening legal action, but like, hey, you know, if you, like,
Really?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Wow.
You know, like you hate, like I'm not somebody who tends to criticize people.
Right.
Like everybody has their different values, and they have their own values. They're just different from mine, and that's fine.
You found out, you realized this, that when you came to AEW, it was impossible to stop that chant.
Yeah.
From the fans.
Yeah.
Right. So who are they trying to?
Well, so yeah.
You know, the fans are doing it. We're going to say cease and desist all 50,000 of a year.
Well, yeah, and it's also something like, am I not allowed to raise my fingers in the air?
Right.
And when I do it, nobody notices, but I never say yes when I do it. I always just do this, and then the people. So am I not allowed? Am I not allowed to do that? I don't know. Can you? You know, I don't know. There's some. This is getting really into the weeds of stuff that is not super interesting or fun to talk about for me, and I also don't want to get myself or anybody else in trouble.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about getting in trouble.
Yeah.
I aged out of trouble years ago.
Yeah. You know what? I'm kind of at a point where I don't think, you know, like, maybe I don't care about getting in trouble. I mean, I brought it up before. Yes. I really think you guys should stop doing that.
Lawyers are waiting outside. There you go.
Yeah. I surely don't want you guys to do that, you know?
So, but talk about your years there, because they established you really on a mainstream level, don't you think?
I mean, at a mainstream level, it's all, you know, people.
I know Ring of Honor was, but Ring of Honor was not as big. Nobody was as big as that.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I really appreciate my time there, and I enjoyed it because I love wrestling in all forms, in all sizes, and I love the people that I met there. And honestly, that was never my goal, was to be in WWE. Actually, when I started wrestling, my favorite wrestler was Dean Malenko, and I thought my path would be to go wrestle in Japan, and that that would be where I'd spent most of my career. And then what I really loved was a Canadian wrestler named Johnny Smith. And what I loved about Johnny Smith, he would go over and he'd wrestle in All Japan. He was kind of in the middle of the card. I loved watching all of his matches. Like I would buy the tapes, and then I'd always watch the Johnny Smith match, right? And I was just like, oh, Johnny Smith is awesome. But Johnny Smith, he might get recognized in Japan. It's not like he was a main event guy or anything like that. But then you just get to go home to Canada and just be a normal person, right? And just not get recognized. And, the fame part of wrestling and the money part of wrestling was never important to me. I grew up relatively poor, under the poverty line, and learned very early on that I was still loved. So I never associated money and happiness as two things that go together. We were very poor, and I was loved, and I was happy, and I credit my parents with that, and so I think one of the blessings, we all have so many blessings just being born in this country, right? You have so many rights and we're seeing it a lot now, that other people in the country do not have. But there's so many blessings that are naturally bestowed upon so many of us. And when I look at my life in that regard, I have so many blessings. Despite not having very much money, I was born in a country where you could go and anywhere you want, pursue your dream. Nobody's going to stop you from doing it, and you can go do that. I was born to parents who loved me and made me know that I was loved and that I could make mistakes and wasn't judged for my mistakes. I mean, those are blessings that not everybody gets,
So I'm going to go back and say, Bryan.
We were talking about WWE.
No.
I went from how important love, a child feeling loved is, and now we're going to go talk about WWE. It's kind of, it's a little bit of a disconnect in my brain.
We're going to treat this just like we treat you backstage. Bryan is talking, just let it keep going. Now I was going to say, I'm going to go back to this, even before this. The natural question is, when did you realize that pro wrestling would be your life? That you wanted to be your profession?
Oh, do you know what's really strange? Because most of you would know that I love professional wrestling. But that said, ever since I started, I always had one foot out the door. Okay, is this a worthwhile pursuit of my life? Is this what I want to dedicate my life to? And there was always one foot out the door saying that no, probably I shouldn't. Or there was a period in 2008. I had gotten a really bad concussion, and maybe it was 2007. And I had my first post-concussion seizure. And this is also the same year that I had detached my retina against Takeshi Morishima. And after I detached my retina, and my mom had to take me to the hospital, and they do like a laser surgery to your eye. My sister called me because my mom was just crying, and she said, "Why are you still doing this?" I mean, I was making decent money, but it wasn't great money or anything. It was enough for me, and I was really tempted to stop and just, okay, it's my time, just gonna go to college, that sort of thing. But I talked to my dad, and my dad was a log scaler. When logging went down, we worked in a paper mill, all that kind of stuff. And he told me, he said, "Bryan, you can always go to college, right? You can always, any day of the week, if you decide to stop wrestling, you can come, I can get you a job at the paper mill or logging or whatever it is. All of these things will always be here for you. But you really get, when you're young, you get this one chance to do this wild and crazy thing that is dressing up in spandex battle jammies and pretending to fight people, right? It's like, it's such an insane thing to even think about.
Of course it is.
Yeah, and so it's like, so he's like, you've got this kind of career going.
Right.
And, I know it's scary, and I know that your mom, is having a hard time with some of these injuries, but he said, what I would give to experienced the life that you've had in your 20s, you know what I mean, to just do these things. And so I really took that to heart. And then 2008, after my first post-concussion seizure, I realized I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, and William Regal had always said to me, he said, whenever you're ready to start making some money, let me know, and we can try to get you into WWE. And I said, I think, and at that point I was like, okay, maybe if I can just at least get my house paid off. I bought the house I grew up in for my mom for $105,000, which, yeah, it's like, and so if if I could at least get my house paid off, then I could start going to college or whatever it is. But yeah, but I never until probably when I was in WWE, never once did I think wrestling was kind of it. And actually, now that I'm done wrestling, wrestling isn't just it anymore. Like, I love wrestling and I love to participate how I can in AEW. But it's like, okay, what service can I be to my community? Where can I find ways to help? What are problems that I can help solve, or not even help solve, but just participate in trying to solve these things? So that's always been kind of like a focus. To answer your question, I've always had one foot out the door.
Right.
People, and I don't think anybody knows that really about my family.
Right.
So.
Well, glad you meet both of you, I can tell you that. Aren't you guys? Absolutely. So, I was talking about this. You arrived in September of 2021, and you're in AEW. Why did you think it was a good fit for you at that time?
I was just excited by AEW. So I never get bored. You might know this about me.
I know that about you.
I don't really get bored. I don't experience boredom. But I do experience a little boredom within, for example, like wrestling. Like, that's why I would need to, I would do Ring of Honor, which are these really hard matches and everything. But okay, but then I need to do something different. Like, I really enjoyed wrestling in Ring of Honor, but then I need to go sing the American National Anthem as poorly as I can in front of a bunch of non-wrestling fans in spandex, underwear, and a mask, and which was, my time in Butlins. And I was in WWE for 12 years, and I was ready to do something different. And I saw what AEW was doing, and it excited me, and it made me question myself, and it made me wonder if I could do some of the things. I watched Cody Rhodes versus Penta. Obviously, neither of them are here now. But Cody, who I used to ride with in WWE, he did this top rope standing Hurricane Rana to Penta, and I was like, oh gosh, is that what they do there? Is that what I have to do? And I was like, and it made me question myself, could I do this? And that's one of the things that's always interesting to me is, can I do something? And I'm like, okay, these guys, and I do, the Kenny, tomorrow, one of the matches, I don't know about you guys, that I'm most excited about seeing is Kenny and Okada. So I was in WWE watching, because I wrestled Kenny in PWG. We had a mildly infamous match where we each discovered each of our names were John Jacob Jinglehammer Smith in the match. Yeah,
I've heard this.
But anyways, when I had left the independent scene, Kenny was kind of starting to come up and really started to make a name for himself. And then by, gosh, what was it, 2015, 2016, and he just looked like the best wrestler in the world. And and then I watched the Okada matches and all that kind of stuff. And I watched these things, and I watched Kenny in AEW, and I watched all these other people in AEW, and I watched Mox in AEW, and I was thinking like, oh man, could I do this? And if I can, this will be very creatively fulfilling. And yeah, and that's what I was looking for.
Well, I think many consider your 30-minute draw with Kenny at Grand Slam was probably one of the best televised matches of all time. What did you tell us about that?
I mean, it was just exciting, right? It was my first match in AEW. It was, you know, the I don't want to say he was the one guy, but he was the guy that I wanted. That I was like, okay, Kenny's improved so much, and now he's this mega star, and now he's, if not the best wrestler in the world, at least one of the top 5 best wrestlers in the world. And I want to see if I can hang with him, you know. And so, yeah, I was just excited.
Yeah.
I don't really get nervous about wrestling. I stopped getting nervous about wrestling when I came back, when I was forced to retire. When I came back, it all just felt like a gift, right? The ability to go do this thing that I love, to just go out. And when I hear my music, when I first started wrestling, Shawn Michaels was my trainer, and he said, the moment that you stop getting nervous before you go out to the ring is the moment you need to retire. And then I retired, and then I came back, and I wasn't nervous at all. And I realized, as much as I love Shawn Michaels, and as much as I respect Shawn Michaels, he was wrong. I had more fun going out with no stress, just realizing that any match could be my last match, and to just accept it as the blessing that it is this thing that I love. And yeah, that's when I went out there, I was just trying to feel what it's like, because that moment only comes once. And I'm really bad. Santino would get on me about this. He said, "You have the worst straight face. Like, if you're trying to keep a straight face, you crack all the time." It was with, like, Santino was so good at not cracking, right? He could do the most absurd things, and he would never crack, and he was so great. And me and Kane would be doing all these things, and I'd crack every time. I was just the worst. But it was like, in the Kenny match, I couldn't stop. Just like, this is awesome. This is fun. The feeling of this match before it even starts, it feels special. And it's like, what is this life that I get to sit in this ring and these people are all chanting and cheering and against one of the best wrestlers in the world? And yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. The realization of the moment is
when other wrestlers ask me advice about stuff, usually one of the things that I try to instill them is to enjoy this time wrestling rather than be stressed out by it. Like, there is a time to diligently work on your craft, right? To criticize yourself, to watch film of yourself, to watch tape of yourself, and say, I need to do this better, and I need to do this better, and I need to do this better. The time to criticize yourself is not right before you go out there, and it's not right when you come back. When you come back, it's like, what a joy it is to go out there and do this thing, man. It's just like, what a blessing.
Absolutely, I would agree with everything. You've always kind of pushed yourself. I found out 60 minutes with Hangman, 60-minute Ironman match with MJF, okay? And Brian, you've always pushed yourself, and you've not always been 100%. So, I mean, that's part of your makeup, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
Because Tony, obviously, because you're a big star, Tony wanted to use you a lot. And I remember thinking, every time you would come out of the ring, I'd come back and I'd say, you okay? You go, yeah, I'm fine.
I'm invincible.
Yeah, I know.
Until I wasn't. That was the big joke in the trainer's room. And said, okay, Brian, how are you doing? I said, I'm invincible. God.
Yeah.
They just rolled their eyes at me.
Right, I know. And I would think, man, geez, holy shit, man.
I forgot.
Okay.
We did the hour match. I did the hour match with Hangman, and then came to that, and then did 10 burpees after. Just to show him. He's younger. I just had to show him I still got it.
Wow. You know now why there's only one Bryan Danielson. So, when did you, I think I know the answer to this, but for everybody, when did you know that it was time to quit?
After the Osprey match. Yeah, there was my neck has been bad for 10 plus years. I had neck surgery in 2014, my neck never really came back to where it was before. I was always kind of in a little bit of pain. And then after I wrestled Will is such an incredible athlete, and I am such a stupid man that he can do things that nobody I've ever wrestled can do. And because he can do things that nobody I've ever wrestled can do, I put myself in a position where I didn't actually know what I was doing, and I didn't ask him what I should do. and so then I landed on my head, and then from there my neck just got progressively worse, and then I got an MRI right after the match with Shingo that was in the Owen Hart Cup last year. The MRI was not great. And I questioned whether we should even do what we were going to do.
Right.
And but it was at that point, and then I stopped being able to sleep for more than 3 or 4 hours at a time, and then it just got to a point where I was just like, okay, I can't go on like this.
Right.
So, and I have two relatively young kids, and when you talk about okay, where you put your focus, where you put your attention is the most important thing in your life, right? Am I putting my focus and my attention on these kids who need me and who need to be loved by me? And my son, he is wild. He's just this wild little boy, and it's great. But when I broke my arm against Okada, so I had this giant sling, and we kept having to tell Buddy, our son, he's like, hey, don't touch Daddy's arm. And he's constantly like jumping on my arm, and I have a big like sling and like this thing, and so it's a very visible thing. Hey, this one arm, don't touch it. So then with my neck, he couldn't stop jumping on my neck. When he heard his daddy's neck was hurt, he's like, Daddy's neck is hurt? Now's my chance. And so yeah, but it just came to that point where I was just like, okay, where am I putting my value? Where am I putting my attention in my life? And honestly, wrestling isn't the most important thing to me anymore. For a long time, I think it was, in the sense of if you put the most important thing in your life, what do you put the most attention on? What do you spend the most time thinking about? What do you spend the most time doing? Then you would say, oh, okay, if you looked at my life from an outsider's point of view, you would look at me and say, like, oh, wrestling is the most important thing in his life. I think if you look at my life over the last several years, I would hope, if you had an overarching view of the whole thing, you would say, you know what, the most important thing to this guy is being a dad. And I started thinking this even before I got to AEW, but that, okay, what does my long-term life look like, and yeah, so that's.
Were you disappointed that you missed All In 2023?
I was, yeah.
Of course, you'd wrestled in big events before, I know.
Yeah.
But that being our biggest, that had to be this point.
Yes, I was disappointed, but things always just happen, right? Like, and you can't. There's things that you can't control, and if you think about it too much or harp on like, oh, I didn't get to do this one thing, you're just like, well, wait a second, you got to do all these other things. Why are you so upset about this one thing? And then because I missed that, and then there was an unfortunate incident backstage, I got to have an incredible strap match with Ricky Starks when I wasn't even supposed to be wrestling.
Want to do a strap match, Brian? Sure.
To be fair, my dumbass suggested it. So,
of course.
I called Tony and said, so he didn't say it this way. This is the way I framed it in my mind. We're kind of in a pickle here. And I said, oh, what could I do with my arm in the shape that it's in right now? I could do a strap match.
There it is. Yes. I'm gonna pull a leg. I'm gonna do a one-legged match. Yeah, send him out. Amazing. Just-
Hey Ricky, don't be afraid to just strap me in the face. I said, yeah, I'll be fine. We'll be okay.
Wow. So when you reached for win the world title, what did that mean to you? AEW world title?
It was incredible. It was just so given what I've just said about my family and that being the priority of my life, having my kids be there watching it at an age, and I don't know if my son will always remember it, but my daughter will always remember it, and them getting to see it and just experience it was, and for Bree to be able to be there and get in the ring with me, and at WrestleMania 30, 2014, it was the Sunday before we got married. We were getting married that Friday, and I just won the world title in the main event of WrestleMania, and Bree was in Gorilla, and she was like, hey, "Can I go out there?" And because I wanted her to go out there, and they said no. And listen, I don't like to criticize people, but the ability to almost have that same moment, but with my wife and with my kids was just so special. And then my son, who's a wild man, as I had mentioned, he told me beforehand, he said, and I told him, I said, okay, if I win, will you guys get in the ring with me? And my son goes, yes, and Daddy, powerbomb me. And I was like, okay, so he got in the ring, and I was trying to powerbomb him, but he kept chasing the streamers. And then I finally grabbed him, I'm like, you wanted to be powerbombed, so here you go, you're gonna get powerbombed. And then Bree tries to stop me. I was like, oh. So yeah, that was a fun.
That sounds like quite a family moment. For those of you, he said gorilla. Do you know what gorilla means?
It's like it's one of it's a species of ape that we descend from. If you believe in evolution, which I don't.
Oh God, I shouldn't say this, but what do you believe in, Bryan? We don't have but another 15 minutes.
Oh, I don't know if that's, yeah.
Hey, we're in Marina, Mexico, and he and R.D. Robert Davis are talking about trees. You remember that? That conversation with trees back and forth?
Oh, is this where he's denying the sentience of trees?
Yes. I walk in there and I sit down for like 5 minutes, and I went, okay, I'm going to put myself It is like conversations like some
seconds to remember that. How many unread text messages I have on my phone? And currently, it is 4,332 unread text messages. And so I really do hate phones, but when you get in a really captivating conversation, ooh, yeah. You might not find it captivating.
No, I would not.
And you've probably heard all the stories before, so.
Regal is just a wonderful person, and he's not so much in his business, and he's been a lot of those.
Yeah.
So, Bryan, here's a question they wanted to know. What is your role with the company at this time?
Ooh, yeah. I am officially a consultant.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, I honestly don't do much consulting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, I get that.
But I don't know what you guys think. So I haven't had much of anything to do with creating an AEW for a while. But I think the AEW shows for the last several months have just been incredible. I watch the product every week at home, both shows, and And I just think that the people there, the wrestlers, the people involved in the creative, everybody's doing just such a great job. So, that's got me just like, listen, I'm not afraid to be critical of a creative process or what I see in the sense of like okay, maybe even when I was in WWE, I would say like, okay, sometimes this feels like a parody of wrestling to me. I wrote that in my book that was put out by WWE. WWE seems like a parody of wrestling to me at times. And but yeah, I thought the last several months of AEW have been really, really good. So
We got a great stuff. We got great people backstage. We got a great writing crew. We got great producers. We really do. We got a lot of great people.
we also have a couple of assholes.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, she said MJF. I don't even ask. Let me ask. Should I interview Tony Schiavone? Yeah. I think an asshole is MJF. Because I don't like to criticize people. Tony loves it.
Are you familiar with the maple tree? Branches out. He's one of the most selfish, self-important, grown-up pricks I've ever met. I've been around a long time. I've been around.
Yeah.
Even when he says, "How you doing?" I'm thinking of it, brother.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, we do have a lot of assholes on stage.
I mean, I think in general, and I think this about myself too, we all have the ability to be an asshole, right? And so that's why I try to be slow to criticize people who I feel like could be being assholes, because I oftentimes find myself doing something and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm being a real asshole here. We did karaoke last night. I was talking to Willow. She did karaoke too, with one of the fans. And she let the fan pick the song. And I was like, oh, I just forced my guy to sing Genie in a Bottle. That was kind of an asshole move. I can go do Genie in a Bottle at karaoke bar anytime I want. So yeah.
Yeah, we do, but overall, it's great working backstage. It's, as you know, it's TV days are crazy. To say the least, they're absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How crazy were TV days in WCW?
They were crazier.
Yeah, that's what I would think. You know, like I think of like these things, and so I oftentimes, if I can't sleep, and this was especially true when my neck was really bad, so I sleep like 3.5 hours or whatever, and I wake up and I just couldn't go to sleep. So I get out of the bed, I'd go to the couch, try to sleep, but what helps me go to sleep is old wrestling. So I would put on Starrcade 83, which has Tony Schiavone in it. And you just think of like all the crazy things that you've seen,
Right.
How does AEW compare in craziness?
It's not as crazy as WCW was.
Okay.
Just give you a perfect example. You know how it's a rush to get the show done and get all the information out. It got to the point to where I would go out there with just the first segment of the show.
In WCW?
WCW.
Whoa.
Then the girl would come out and do the commercial break in the second segment of the show.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So during the pandemic era of WWE, this is great. So we were in the Performance Center. No. So at first we started in the Performance Center. Then we moved to the, what was it called? Thunderdome. So I was in a Seg 1 promo, and we were rehearsing it, and because there's no fans in there, we were rehearsing the Seg 1 promo at 7:30. The show starts at 8 o'clock, right? So we're rehearsing it at 7:30. Okay, I do the rehearsal, whatever it is, I go to the back. They hand me a brand new script and said, and it was like a 10-minute promo. And it had all these big words in it. And I was like, and when Vince came into Gorilla, I said, sir, I was just handed this literally like 10 minutes ago. I don't know if I can remember all this. And he goes, that's okay, just do your best. And yeah, and then stuff was just changing on the fly because there was just like, people on screens. And then they could filter in whatever noise they wanted. And what I saw is, because sometimes I would sit in the gorilla position, and then somebody would say, okay, turn up the crowd noise. And I was like, wait, why don't you turn up the crowd noise for everybody? As opposed to like, and then one match was out there. I said, okay, turn down the crowd noise. I was like, what? Why would you do that? Why would you do that to this poor human out there? These two poor humans out there. I was just like, whoa, that's. Make them wrestle harder. Make them wrestle harder? But you can't hear the crowd when you're out there. Yeah. That was like, oh, we didn't talk about how much I love dynamic wrestling.
Yeah. Hey, it was one of the greatest times.
He's like, he did something, and he turns to the camera and goes, who's the man now? And I was watching, and I couldn't help but just cackle. There's nobody there. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm watching wrestling on TV, and I would see like Vader, because Vader would always say, who's the man? Never once did I sit at home and go, not you, brother!
There are a million stories, a million pandemic stories, as you know, and if you've seen the movie about Saturday Night Live, did you see that? Yeah. That's us every Wednesday, buddy. That's us every Wednesday and every Saturday, trying to get the show on the air. But it's just another note about being handed the formats, right? Page and page time. About the fourth segment, I told the girls, stop. She said, why? I said, I've been doing this for a long time. Just tell me in my ear where to go. You know? You don't need all that stuff.
And we don't want to waste paper, right, guys?
Exactly.
We need to start making paper out of bamboo. You want to talk about that? How easily it is to grow bamboo, it just regrows all the time. But another thing that we should talk about is that how once you destroy it, it's so much easier to destroy something than to bring it back. Like the old growth forests, right? Or like what John Moxley did by putting a plastic bag around it. So you cultivate this friendship and this group unity, and it's so easy to destroy and so very hard to build back up that trust. So I don't know about you guys, but I, for one, am rooting for Hangman.
So what's next for Bryan Danielson?
So I just got my wilderness first aid certification.
Yay!
Yeah, success!
Yay, wilderness! Woo!
I mean, you define success. I define success by getting a wilderness first aid certification.
What does that mean? What's that? Wilderness first aid.
It means that I'm certified I've learned a lot of things about how to help people when they're in the wilderness, mostly in the backcountry, because I do a lot of, you talk about the hiking, so backcountry hiking where you go out and spend a couple days out camping, whatever, and so, yeah, when sometimes people need help. And so when you're there, you can help them.
So when you're there, you wouldn't be called at the house middle of the night, so we need to go 10 miles out to the wilderness.
So I'm aiming to be that guy.
Wow.
Who does
that.
But so one of the things in our area that needs help is the forest fires. And so one of my things to provide service to my community is training to be a volunteer firefighter. So one of the things that they do in our community is they want to clear the brush so that the forest fires are less likely to start. And so those are just some of the things that listen, pro wrestling is a very odd skill set, right?
Whoa.
Like you can't, it's not like, okay, like, hey, I was a pretty good professional wrestler. Can I go work at, I don't know if IBM exists. Let's say, can I go work at IBM? And does IBM still exist? You know what IBM is?
I don't know if I'm that guy.
Oh. So, it's like, okay, when I'm looking at how I can be of service to my community and where I can feel like I'm really doing something with my life that's productive and has meaning. You know, those are the kind of things that I'm looking for.
I think we found out today he's a much better person, or as good a person as he was a professional wrestler. Until you figure out that it's all been eyes. If you ever feel like you want to end your life, listen to a conversation with him and Robert Davis about trees.
It's not just trees.
I know, it's so many greatest things ever. Bryan, you're the man, buddy. It was an honor.
Should we poll the people before I leave? Raise your hand if you think clams have souls.
Yes. Everything I say.
You, sir, are doing a poor job as a parent because your son did not raise his hand. Should we leave it on that?
I think we should.
At least I hope